Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. Episode 400 is here, and this is probably one of the coolest success stories so far, and I feel why I'm just so inspired by this conversation is I've known Mick probably since we were like 15, 16, something like that, and just hearing his success story, and watching it. So Mick Sears, a Toowoomba lad, a Toowoomba success story, founded HGG Performance, formerly known as the Home Gym Guys, in April 2020. So 2020 was the year of that nasty C word, when the world was in lockdown but in desperate need of high quality home gym equipment. Today we talk about what was going on in his life. You know, he's traveled overseas, was a Boilermaker or is a Boilermaker by trade, and having a young family, and just recently getting married. You know, his back was against the wall, and just combining two of his passions, Boilermaking, you know, making stuff, which was awesome, and his love for fitness has put him in a position where he has made some innovative creations, such as the ISO Tib, the Tib Bar, the Nordic Bar, a few of which have been spoken about on Joe Rogan. But it's an incredible chat. And once again, like I said, one of probably my favorite success stories we've spoken about, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing on the podcast so far. So you're going to get a heap out of it. Now, before we dive into today's episode, if you're wanting to take your life to that next level, if you're wanting to be in a position where you have a stronger mind and a stronger body, which will put you in prime position to take ownership for your life and really start creating a life that you're proud of and you love, check out the Strong Men of Value Academy. It is world-class. We have men from all around the world who are showing up weekly, working towards creating a better life for themselves, but also there to share perspective, challenges, and experience on how you can overcome challenges within your life. So check that out, themanthatcanproject.com/Strong Men of Value. And if you feel it's a good fit for you, hit the application button, and I'll look forward to getting in contact with you. But that's enough from me. Let's dive into this epic episode with Mick Sears. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachie Stuart. Let's get into it. Episode 400. This has been a milestone.
400 is a lot.
Yeah. Welcome to the Man That Can Project podcast, episode 400. Searsy, mate, I've been wondering for probably the last 50 episodes who's going to strike the lucky number 400, and what better bloke to have than a fellow Toowoomba success story.
I'd like to think that. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Mate, we've got a few things in common actually with... the one being network marketing sort of was a leverage point for us. We were both just chatting downstairs in your office, as it was sort of one of those things that we're glad's behind us, but it was also, I guess, that leapfrog into helping us develop and learn some skills that have got, you to where you are today. You've, since COVID, fucking skyrocketed, mate. It's been a wild journey. Your product's been mentioned on Joe Rogan. You've got all these caps to all the clubs that you've supplied gear to, which is pretty wild. So thanks for coming on the show.
Mate, happy to be.
It's an absolute pleasure. We've been chewing the fat for about 2 hours downstairs, which was good fun to learn more about the journey and the products that you've been creating. But How'd we get here? Wild ride.
Yeah, it has been a wild ride. Like we've, I guess to give everyone a little bit of background, I through COVID started a gym equipment company. It was called the Home Gym Guys, which when COVID happened, just started a little business, hobby business, I would say, out of my garage, double bay garage in Tweed Heads, which quickly evolved into, a Gold Coast, big enough to service like around the Gold Coast. And within the first couple of months, we were shipping sort of around Australia, and 2 years later, we developed, about 6 months after that, we developed a couple of products that went pretty viral around the world, and now we ship to, now we've sort of built quite a big organisation now, and we ship our gear to get all around the world. So it's it's been a crazy ride. But yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into a fair bit of the logistics of that as well.
Mate, it's going to be exciting. What I'm really excited to dive into is, people who are following you on social media just go, oh, what a success story, and it's happened overnight, but there's so much stuff that you've had to deal with. Even you're sharing some stories about when the borders closed and the lockdowns happened, but even, you lived overseas as well. You're in France and the UK, and you come back to Australia trying to figure out what's next for you. Boilermaker by trade, which is pretty cool. And obviously we both grew up on the hill, mate, and we don't want to go back.
I won't be back.
It's a big goal not to go, even though I bought a house back there, but I'm not going back.
I like we were talking about downstairs, I absolutely love the place. But now living on the Gold Coast, like I could never, from living, like I met my wife when I was living over in the UK, and she really wanted to move to Australia. But when we moved back here to Australia, she really wanted to live by the beach. But at the time we moved back to Brizzy, because that was where, a bunch of the boys were when I left. By the time we'd got back there, a lot of them had settled down and all the rest of it. So we moved down near the racecourse there. And for the first year, it was really fucking hard. Like Katie couldn't get a job. I was managing a gym that was halfway to the Gold Coast. So it was like a big sort of, it was a wild sort of time for us. And I think for Katie, moving to Australia meant like the Australian dream, I guess, for like an English person who's living by the beach,
sunshine.
And so like we were living in the year that we moved back, it was just an absolute scorcher. We'd moved back in December, and it was like one of the hottest summers on record for like the last 10 years. I remember we were hitting like 40s. And it was just out of control. And she was like, fuck this. I don't want to live in Brisbane. I don't want to be, if it's this hot, like I want to at least be by the beach. And so we sort of slugged it out in Brizzy for a year, and then moved down here to Palm Beach, which was about 5 years ago now. But yeah, as soon as we moved here to the Gold Coast, like it was Gold Coast will only ever be our home from now on. Just because like, once you're here, you can't leave the place. Definitely not to go back to Toowoomba, which I love. But
it's lifestyle. Fuck that. I'm going back tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
Wish me luck. No, it's actually not that bad. It's quite relaxing, but
I'm heading up there 2 weeks. I got my sister's birthday, so I'm heading back up there for 2 weeks. So that'll be a Toowoomba weekend.
But let's go back. Like when you moved back from France, like obviously we were sitting downstairs before. You never would have pictured your life being the way it is now. Even 10 years ago, what's that? 2011. Fuck, 2011. Boilermaker. When were you in France?
We moved. Me and Jackson moved to France in 20. I think it was 2013.
Yep.
We moved to France, up to the French Alps.
Yep.
And like it was like one of those things that I remember just having, at the time I was working still in the mines. And I remember having this one night that it was just like working in a night shift, and it was just it was the biggest asshole of a night. Everything just went wrong. Like it just sucked so bad. And I remember texting Jackson because like I was speaking to Mitchie Logan and Tyson when they were there.
Yep.
And I used to speak to them on their well, it'd
it
be
was
my
day,
night shot, and so I would speak to them during the day.
Yep.
And when I'd call them, they'd be sitting in a bar drinking, talking about all their good times, and I'm sitting there in like a mine site at like midnight, going, "What am I doing?" And anyway, they kept at me like, "Just leave." And one night they got me on a good night, and I remember texting Jacko and saying, "Look, would you come? Like, would you move to France?" And then that was about like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then when I was finishing work, it was like 5:36. He just sent back, "I'm in."
The easiest sale of all time.
Ever. And then like we'd end up booking our tickets probably 8 months in advance because we were like, let's just book it in. So we definitely locked in, and then we can just like, righto, let's do it. And then, when we moved over there, we moved up to Val. And then it was just like the best decision, that we'd ever made.
Why is that?
Oh, just it was, what I've spoken to a bunch of people about this, but I got to start a new life, and that sounds funny because but being in Toowoomba, like I've gone over this like a bunch of times, but like you've grown up with the same people. You are that sort of like Michael Sears in Toowoomba was like a person. Like it was like that was who I was. Like I was a type of myself. And then when I moved to France, no one really knew who I was. And like for me being in Toowoomba, like there was a lot of shit that was going on in my life and heaps of stuff that was happening. And then when I moved, it was like I just sort of shed a lot of the shit that was holding me into who I was like in my head, I guess. Then when I moved to France, like it took like a few weeks to then come to, but me and Jackson just got to like we ended up such good friends from it. Like we weren't I wouldn't say we were like best mates when we left, but like we're best mates like there, and from. And so like both of us just got to sort of shed the skin of who we were then and then just create new lives for ourselves. And that was like, we didn't have to, there was no egos to like, oh, well, we have to do this or we've got to do that. You know what I mean? Like it just turned into, I think that was like one of the best things that ever happened to both of us is we got to just sort of find ourselves a little bit and then it just turned into like, well, we barely like worked. We worked in a bar. We got pissed every day and snowboarded every day. So I think like that level of like freedom ended up becoming, like the medicine drug that we needed to just like see life a little bit more because I'd done a little bit of traveling in the past. But it wasn't until then that I actually appreciated traveling more. Like traveling I'd done in the past, we'd sort of either gone on like just boys trips and just got smashed.
The whole point
time.
is
like,
just purely to get pissed.
It's like a new environment just to get pissed.
I was talking to a mate about this yesterday. I was like, we spent all this money going to Europe and Thailand and what have you, but it's like, why couldn't you just go to like Dolby or Roma and
could have.
You could have. Would have remembered the exact same experiences.
Yeah, we did. We went to Thailand one time and we just literally like we got pissed every day and we went to the same bars at night time. Like we did the same thing
Don't see
each
any
day.
of the sights. Like,
we didn't do any sightseeing. Like I remember we went jet skiing one time and me and Stewie Howes ran into each other and I had to pay $4,000 for a jet ski in Thailand. And that was like the extent of like the travel that we went over to a full moon party and then
how
took
good
heaps
was
of
the full moon
mushies and then ended up not remembering
absolutely
that anyway.
sloshed fucking full moon party is good.
Yeah. But like so I think once we got to there, that sort of give us the bug of the bug of life a little bit, I guess. Because then onwards from there, Jackson moved up to Leeds to play footy. And then I moved to Portugal for a little bit. And then I moved to England. And then like for both of us, we both split again into completely new people. Like we didn't know anyone. Not one person that we knew in our friend group. So again, then it was like a whole new who am I sort of thing. And then like
it's a cool position to put yourself in. Like that's why I feel everyone should give travel a crack because you do sort of feel like you have to show up a certain way. Because even if you start to change, people in your life question that. They're like, well, you're acting different. You're like, I just want a different outcome. I want different. But it's like from a young age, we don't really know. So we just sort of try to fit in with our environment. And obviously...
You do at the same time. Like you sort of grow up with people and then you grow up as that friend of that person or vice versa. You know, you grow up in a community of people and people are a certain way and you know that you act a certain way with that person. So I think like for a lot of people, they probably, depending on what they're like as a person or whatever, they end up growing to suit the people around them.
Yep.
And they like I'd like to think that, travel actually allows you the space to find out who you are and what you actually like because you don't have that.
Yep.
You don't have that you don't have that community around you in a way to
sort of show
and go, oh, well, such and such is coming, so I know, well, he's going to want to drink beers or, oh, well, I can't do that around them because they'll call me a pussy.
Yeah.
Or, whatever it is. Like, so I think like, how did moving to France change me? I think it like turned me into who I am.
Yep.
In a way today, which was the best thing ever could have happened.
Oh mate, I feel you. It's fucking
because you would have done the same. Like you moved to France.
Yeah, and I was. It was
so like
that
would have been a complete flip side to like going from Australia, and that's. I guess it would have been hard. Like, so where I went, like, it was very English. Like we barely learnt French. Like, me and Jacko learnt, like, a petite amount of French.
Ça va, juste mes bits.
Literally, enough that yes. enough that we needed, enough that we got what we needed.
Yeah.
And like for us, like we only ever had we only learned like enough that got us by. But like you would have it would have been even harder for you, I guess, because you were playing in teams like French teams and stuff like that. So you would have had to probably pick things up faster.
It's fucking horrible, mate.
Yeah,
it was. But I also think because what you would have been 22, 23, because I was 21, I think.
Yeah, I think I
missed
22.
all the 21st.
Yeah,
I just didn't appreciate it at the time.
I was working in the mines as well. That's what made me like hate. That was a problem for me because I missed so many 21st because I was working in the mines doing 2-in-1s.
Yep.
And it felt like I just missed everything.
Literally, yeah. Like your whole life is flying by, really. And I know they say when you're young you should work hard and do all of that sort of stuff, but it's like such a different time to be alive now. We have, I guess both of yourself and I ended up in network marketing, which for me, I was saying to you downstairs, was awesome time in my life. I got PTSD about it and from it now, but like if I didn't have that, I probably would have ended back up in Toowoomba being that same version of myself that I left behind. Because I went to France to run away as well. I fucking didn't like who I was and how I was acting. But obviously when you come back, you're like, all right, that time's gone. What am I fucking doing now? And I didn't know what else I was going to do after that. So it's then that sort of what comes next. For you, when you got back from France, did you have any idea were you going to go back to the mines or what would that look like?
Well, I left France, then I went to England, and then while I was living in England, I lived there for I think I was living there for about 4 or 5 months.
Yep.
Before I met Katie, and then I met Katie through a friend. So a couple of friends of ours, like when I left France and Portugal, I sort of went to England. I was kicking around there for about 3 or 4 months. I was having a killer time there with a bunch of people, and then a couple of friends of ours were like setting it. Like a mate of mine was like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to someone," and then we ended up going to a party, and we ended up at a house party to start off with, and then I don't remember seeing Katie there, but apparently we spoke a little bit, but I can't remember it. But she can remember it. But then we sort of went out and then ended up back at the house party together, and then the rest is sort of history from there. But then it was funny, like because I half brushed her at the start, but then when I tried to start a relationship with her. Then she like brushed me for a couple of months. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Anyway, then it was a bit of a tit for tat over there for a little bit, but then then we got together, lived over there for probably 8 or 9 months.
Yep.
And then when we were leaving England, like we were, I guess we were just all just trying to work out like who we were. And, you know, England's a crazy place. Like, as you know, like it's just a whirlwind. And again, at the same time, like going back to like who I was again, England sort of turned me into another type of person, you know, another type of person, which was like pretty hectic as well. Because like, you know, like I was doing some bad shit over there, like drinking and partying heaps and stuff like that. And so we left and ended up moving to Bali for 3.5 months. And it was the best thing that could ever happen to us again, because we got to just like be secluded. We ended up moving to like the Gili Islands for a month and a half, and it was just us two and nothing. There was just no noise, like with people, whatever. And we actually fell madly in love together over there, because that was like, you know, we really liked each other and all the rest of it when we were in England. But it wasn't until we actually moved to the Gillies that we became like best friends. And that was like a big thing for, you know, the evolution of like from when we moved back to Australia.
What was it about being in the islands that you feel sort of made you fall madly in love with each other?
We just found each other, like we just found out who each other were. You know, we're both very similar, but, you know, different in the same time, where, again, all egos and personalities and all that sort of shit went out the door, and it would have been a make or break for us. And we sort of knew that, like, not that we didn't like each other, but we sort of knew, like, well, she was like, well, if I'm going to move back to Australia, you know, like it could be a big thing or it could go the other way.
Yep.
And when we were moving back, and when we thought, oh, well, we'll spend some, you know, really concentrated time together on holiday, and see how we go, and it'll either be make or break. I'm glad it worked. Good. But yeah, like just being on there, like we just became mates. Like we just talk shit all the time and carried on, and we did heaps of cool adventures, and we found out that, like, you know, we found out that we're really similar, and we both are like driven people, and, you know, that now comes into like, well, like when we moved back to Australia, we had each other's back, and I think that's like the thing with me and her, is we've always had each other's back. And when we've moved back here to Australia, she found it really hard to get a job, and so like I sort of supported us for a good period of that first year, where she was trying to get jobs, couldn't pick it up because she was English and all that sort of shit. And that was hard. And that was also like really hard for me to watch her go through something and know that she didn't really like it. And so like that was one thing when, you know, and that sort of comes into like when the network marketing thing came aboard, it was like one of those things where I moved back. She didn't want me to work back as a Boilermaker, because she'd just seen, like, when I met her, I was working in a bar, and then, you know, couldn't keep up those hours. So I ended up going back into the trade when I was in England, and it was hard. Like, I ended up getting a job. Like, I sort of threw my hat in the ring with this big company, and I was like a site manager, and it was hard work, and it jacked me up. Like, I was fucked, and like I got put on some, like I sort of bit off more than I can chew when I applied for this job, but I thought, I'd be right. But yeah, I was doing some hard shit, and I was like physically just exhausted all the time from the work that we were doing. And when we moved back to Australia, she's like, I really don't want you to do that. Like, I'm not coming to Australia for you to be, firstly, away from me, and then secondly, like, just to be fucked all the time. Like, do something else. And then that's when, like, I'd already done my PT and stuff like that before I left Australia. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just, you know, I'll get a job doing that. And luckily, a mate of mine hooked me up with a job through a friend of his, and I started doing a bit of PT and sales for an Anytime Fitness, and then it was like sick. So I was doing that for a while, and then that's when Damo sort of came to me with like Katie couldn't get a job, and came to me with the network marketing thing, and I was like, oh, well, that looks like a cool little avenue that might actually, you know, as as network marketing sort of does, it sort of sells you a bit of a dream.
Yeah.
That it does come true. Like if you work, but like they sort of sell you a bit of a dream. And I was like, well, this could be something that could be quite cool. Time freedom, being able to do what you want,
who you want,
do whatever. And then that's when that was sort of like along that first year was when I jumped in with like Prove It, and we started sort of hammering that, and it went good. And then while we were doing that, Katie ended up sort of picking up a couple of jobs, and we started actually living like a pretty interesting life because, as you know, it was it's hard work, but like we were just working, like coming from being a Boilermaker to working from a laptop. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, like whatever.
I don't want to get my hands dirty.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean hard work? So what, I've got to chat to people? Yes, sweet.
Done.
No dramas.
Coffee? Oh, easy.
So what you're saying is like I can earn money from going and sitting with someone and having a coffee. Yeah, sweet.
Done. Can I wear flip-flops? Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, no, do what you want. So yeah, like that was, and that, I guess that was one thing. Like once we sort of like found that little avenue, we sort of hammered that for, that's why we moved to the Gold Coast, because we started earning, we started doing quite well in that space, to the point where Katie got to then, she started her own marketing business, like building websites and doing all that sort of stuff, which then started picking up like really, like it was picking up really fast. And then that also like allowed, me to just start having a crack at this network marketing thing. And it went good. Like it went good for a while.
Did you ever doubt yourself with, like, I guess when you were coming back to Australia, Boilermaking was what but going into something completely different? Did you?
Oh, always. Like I I've always, even now, like I've always got to like trick myself into sometimes like believing in myself. It's
good
like,
old tricking.
Yeah, just tricking myself, like just do something, and then if it works, then like, oh, that worked, so yeah, you're good. Like to say something to someone, oh, that did actually work. Okay, cool. I think you got it. Like you sort of internal dialogue. But like when we were coming back, like going into sales, I sort of backed myself, because when we were working in the bars, that was like, again, like that was sort of, it was the first sort of taste of sales that I'd ever had. And we would, like, me and Jacko were good. Like when we would work behind the bar, we would be talking shit to people, and we would jokingly upsell things to make either tips or to get free drinks. So like that was like our thing. We would just like talk shit to people. And then sort of that, I guess I took that same thing and I sort of applied it to, no sales experience at all, but like I just applied what I'd sort of learned in like the bars and stuff like that to working in a gym. And it was hard. Like obviously it was difficult when I was doing sales, but like same with what I was telling you with Benny, when I started with Anytime Fitness, they were like, oh, I was like, how do I do it? And they're like, I just go see people. And same thing. Like I used to just walk in and out of like industrial estate, any business. And I'd be like handing out 14-day passes to people, being like, hey, I work at Anytime Fitness. Do you want a 14-day pass?
Come do some curls.
Some people would think that I remember sometimes like I would walk, and I guess this is what helps with help me with the network marketing thing. But like I would walk into places and I would just know straight away. Like I'd be walking to like an insurance place or something. And I would look at the people behind the desk and I'd be like, fuck, I'm in here now. Like I can't just walk out. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I would walk in and I would give them the, like, Michael from Anytime Fitness down the road, I've got some 14-day free passes that I can give you. And they would look at me as if I was giving out anthrax. It would be like, I'd be like, oh.
Take it.
I'm like, here, you want that? And they're like, yeah, no, that's not really it. And in my head, I'm like, well, you fucking need this.
Yeah,
like,
this will save your life.
Yeah, literally. But it would be like one of those things. And I would, sometimes I would turn around, I would walk out of the door and I would just start laughing. I would just think, what the fuck am I doing? And, and then, but again, like doing that, like not knowing anything about sales, not knowing anything about like what that was. When I would see the gym growing in memberships and we were doing it, like it just gives me the tricked confidence to like, oh well, I am doing something that's all right. So I guess like I'd always, I'd sort of like I didn't really know where, like I never really know where things are going to take me. I'm a bad planner when it comes to like long-term sort of stuff.
Yep.
Like Katie's really good at planning. Like she's my backbone of like planning shit. But like for me, I've always been I just play a bit of eyes up footy, like what's in front of me. Okay. What's the best way to go? Okay. Yeah. Let's just go for that for a while. And then we'll just like
see what happens,
and I did that for a bit. And then next minute the Prove It thing came along and I was like, whoa, this looks like it could work. And then I just jumped across into that, and then, so I guess like, the doubting thing is always sort of in my brain. And coming back, I did feel out of my depth going into that. Because I knew that if I went back to the mines, I could earn $140,000 a year. I'd have everything I used to have. But then at the same time, I knew that I wasn't very happy. Living up there and doing that, like I had everything, and that was the problem.
There's always a trade-off, and it's like when I think you travel or you find a way to get a better understanding around what you want for your life and what actually you find fulfilling, it then helps you make those decisions and understand that the trade-off, while you may not make 140K and do all that, it's fucking way better being happier and you'll make it work. You'll always find a way to make it work.
And that was, I guess, for me, it took a long time for me to actually be okay with that, to the point where, even after we were doing stuff with Prove It, and then like I stopped doing Prove It stuff. And then because we needed to, like we were trying to buy a car and stuff like that, because we were both on like our own self income or whatever the fuck it is. No one, like self-employment, and we hadn't had any like trading, we'd only been in business, both sole traders for like 6-8 months or something like that. We had some money, but like we wanted to buy ourselves some new things because like we had no money. Like we were broke for, a good part of our first few years. And, but at the same time, we couldn't actually get any loans or anything like that. So then like I ended up back on the tools again for a few months and having to do that. And, going back through like having to sort of swallow your pride and go back to going from a life that you've had and you've been really confident with, and then have to go back to what you can make money on. That was one of the darkest times, honestly, of my life. I remember when I went back and I was welding again, I was working for this mob down here on the Gold Coast, and I fucking hated where I was. Like I felt like I'd gone so much further backwards. Like I'm like, I used to be so happy and not have that much money, and now I'm like working for money in a fucking rock up at 7 o'clock in the morning, clock out at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I was like, I hated what I'd become and how that I'd had to go back that way. And one day, like I just had enough. I was like, fuck this place. I'm honestly done with this place. And I was driving to work and I said to Katie, I'm like, we'd move out to Tweed. And this is how ridiculous it was. Like where my, I guess, values in like life, where I wanted to be. Katie's business was doing really well. We bought our car. We got what we wanted there. And then I remember driving to work and there was a cafe I could see it said like hiring. And I was like, I walked in there in my work gear and I was like, are you guys like looking, what he's looking for? And they're like, oh, just looking for a front of house. Rah, rah. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, I might drop in my resume and I'm in like full work gear and they were like, yeah, cool. Like as if they'd be thinking, who the fuck's this guy? And I was driving to work and I remember as you come up the Gold Coast Highway, as you come up the M1, you come up and over and you go back onto Bermuda Street. There's that big roundabout.
Yeah.
I was driving up that, and my warehouse was the workshop I was working at was just over you come up and back down onto Bermuda Street. I was driving up, and I drove around, and the exit was there, and I remember looking at that exit, and I went, fuck you. And I drove back down. I drove back down, got back onto the highway, and I just drove home, and I text the guy, the company that I was working for, and I said, sorry, I quit. And I just never heard from him again.
Really? That was it?
That was it. Done. I was like, yeah.
How'd it feel doing that? Were you just...
Oh, honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I went from working in I was working fucking hard and doing that, and then I went back to this cafe, and
fuck, that's wild, man.
And I went in and I was like, I went and got changed. I came back, and then I was just like I don't give a fuck like how many days you want to give me, but like I just quit my job and like I'll start. And they were like, come in for a shift tomorrow. And it was just like working in a bar with no alcohol. So it was easy. And I loved it. Like I had such a good time there. Like, and I did that for probably a couple of months before COVID and this all kicked off. But like it was, I'd quit the place that I was working at, the Boilermaker thing, in maybe like, October-ish sort of area.
Yep.
And then COVID kicked in like February or whatever, and I got sacked from that place. I got sacked from the cafe because of COVID.
Dogs.
Well, because of COVID, they had to. Like they couldn't. They had to sack like everyone. So
why do you feel you allowed yourself to just go work at a cafe, man? Because I know so many people feel like they're above that shit. Like
it was just like I'd known the feeling that like people give me my fill up my cup, and I love like this, and I love people that are like that. And the people that I was working with were just life suckers. Like they hated every day that they went to work. They complained, they smoked durries, they were so unhealthy. And you think about going from like the life that we were living, like in like Prove It, and you're with all these people that are like life
ambitious
lovers, and they're everything about it is just like life rules. You see this great, like they've got such a great mindset, and through that time with Prove It, like I learnt so much about myself and my self-worth and all that sort of stuff to go like, oh, I actually know what I want to be happy.
Yep.
Then going back to that was like, I felt like I was just getting like the life sucked out of me. I felt like one of those fucking things on Harry Potter where they just suck the Dementor that just sucks it. But that's what I felt like this workshop was giving me. And I remember saying to Katie, like, often, I can't handle doing this anymore. Like I would be, some days I might be in tears just thinking like, fuck this life, like surely I'm not going back to this. Like there's got to be something else out there. And I started looking at a few sales roles and stuff like that, but nothing really like jumped out at me. Thought about going and doing more PT, but even that was just a bit like I wasn't sure. Then when I went back to the cafe, like when I started working in the cafe, like I was earning all right money. Like it wasn't like I was earning, like I was working say 5 days a week, but the what I would get from just feeling like I had like I love feeling like I've got a purpose.
Yep.
And, just being in a cafe and, you're meeting people every day, chatting to them, knowing that you like, you're talking to people every day. And then the people that own the cafe, Next Door Espresso down in Tweed, were just the biggest legends to go with it. So like we became like super close and that sort of thing. So like for me, when I was there, I was like, I knew that there was going to be a time where I needed to not work at a cafe and then move on. But it felt like a relief.
Yep.
Like I spoke to a guy the other day. He works at a retail place, and he sort of like he took down my email and stuff like that. It was down like at Lululemon, and he was like, "Oh, do you work at thing?" And funnily enough, he was like, "Oh, you guys did the tib bar." He goes, "Oh, right." And I was like, "Oh, how do you know that?" He goes, "Oh, I've got a sports science background." I was like, "Really?" And I was like, I was like, what do you, like, he goes, oh, I've only been working here for a couple of weeks. I was like, what did you do before that? He's like, oh, I've been working with Queensland Reds for the last 5 years. And he goes, I couldn't, I needed a break. And I was like, bro, I can relate. You know, like I thought to myself, well, if you've got like, you know, you've gone and done a degree and you've been working you've been working for like a certain company for a certain amount of time. Sometimes people just need a break. And, and some people like, nothing's ever permanent. And that was, I guess, with the cafe was like that. And then that for the first time for a long time when I was chatting to him, I felt like, oh yeah, that's like a sigh of relief for like I'm glad that, you know,
someone else is doing that.
He was stoked. He was like, dude, I'm so happy at the moment. Like I just needed just a break for a bit. And I was like, good on you, bro. Like good on you for just taking a little bit of... Give yourself that time to
think as well. Like,
and that's exactly what, like, I think for him, like we only had a brief convo because I was just buying some shit. And then, but like we had a long enough convo that the people were sort of lining up.
2 hours later.
Can you just shut the fuck up and move on? Go and get a coffee.
Got your fucking singlet and shorts, mate.
Fuck off. but it was like one of those things where I was like, man, good on you, you know, because most people, like you say, they will never swallow their pride. Yeah. They'll live in it. They'll be fucking unhappy. And for me, family is like my number one thing. And if I'm unhappy at work, I take it home, you know, and I hate doing that. And I try, and I'm much better at it now. But like it's way better now because I own my own business. But in the past, when I was at these other shit jobs, I was in such a bad, I didn't have the positive things to lean against the negatives and go, well, that's not that bad. You know, because the positives are so much better.
Yep.
Same with the cafe. It was like the positives are so good that like as long as we had enough money that we could like live and be happy, then for me and Katie, we were both like
stoked.
We were both like, yeah, cool. We love each other and we're, you know, happy and healthy and whatever. And we knew that like her business was killing it. And like I knew that I would like eventually have to do something else.
Make a change.
But it was just like a bit of a pressure valve to like just bring me
back.
Felt like it just needed to bring me back. And then that, yeah, like I said, I did that for a few months and then got sacked.
Fucking COVID.
But again, COVID was the best thing that could have ever happened.
What was it like? So when you got sacked, what went through your head then? It was like, were you stressing out about shit then? Like what was next, or you just...
A bit, yeah. Like a bit, like because in the period of like getting, like losing my job there and HGG kicking off, there was probably a month.
Yep.
And a month's a long time when you're sort of already just living like pretty pretty baseline.
Yep.
And we were sort of at that time, like Katie had just fallen pregnant as well. So like she'd just fallen pregnant with her first, first pregnancy.
Okay, yep.
And so that was like, whoa, you know, like we're going to have a fucking baby and you just got sacked, you know. And
how do you feel with that then?
Oh, stressed. Yeah, like anxiety went back.
Yeah, fucking boom, straight back in.
I'm back in. Oh, yeah, the pressure valve went off. Yeah, let's tighten that motherfucker back up. We're back, baby. The stress just kicks the motherfucking door in. We're like, what's up? We're back. But like the stress kicked back up, but at the same time, we were like, oh, like it was sort of, it was one of those things where it was like, we like me and Katie have been always really good at like when the pressure's on, we come together and we're like, let's make a let's work this shit out. Like, let's make a plan. What's going to be our way forward?
Yeah. And
we'd sort of prove it aside. Like I couldn't really go back into that, PTSD or just like the restart of everything. I just didn't want to go back into that. And then, so I started looking at some sales roles, but like her business was pumping. So like I just started jumping in and helping her with like marketing stuff. And I actually found that quite interesting. And
sorry, just a quick one. How do you feel at that point with Katie being like the sole breadwinner, like main breadwinner at that point?
Yeah, it was like, honestly, as a proud dude, I felt it pretty like it was an ego thing for me to be like, it was difficult, but I had to take my medicine.
Yep.
You know, I had to take my medicine. I was like, well, you can't do it, like, and you're not. So you either spark up and get it done. Otherwise, you know, this is just going to be the way it is.
Yep.
You know, you're going to have to be like a stay-at-home dad or like that. Those were the things that were running through my head, which I was fine with at the time. Like I was like, well, I could be a stay-at-home dad. That'd be fucking awesome. But like at the same time, the pressure was then I felt the pressure because like for me, I've always been just from being like, I guess like growing up, like my dad's always sort of provided his grandfather, like it's always just sort of ingrained in like as a country person, I guess you're always sort of like, you know, you're the provider, bro. Get some like provide, like make some money essentially. Like, and that's what I wanted to do with Katie. I was like, well, if I can't do my thing, I'm going to help you with your thing. And I'm going to help, you know, I'm going to do my best at you, like doing my best working for you, which is good because then like it then just become sort of our money in a way, but it was her business and her baby and all the rest of it. So it was like, okay, like I'll just support you. And then off the side of that, I just started doing some like workshops. Like we were doing some ice bath workshops, not anything that was making much money, but just sort of like I always thought, oh, well, I'll build on my own personal brand and see if I can do like train more and, you know, just build a bit of a personal brand. And then maybe down the track I can do something there because like obviously Instagram and all that sort of shit was popping. Don't know what I was going to fucking do. I really don't. I was like, no, Instagram. Yeah, it's sweet. I have fucking no idea what I'm going to do on it, but yeah, it's sweet. Insta. But yeah, like that was like it was a pretty tricky thing to do, but it was more that the conversations around it were the hard ones for me. Is like when she would be like, well, what happens if I get morning sickness and can't work? You can't build this. Like you can't build all this stuff. Like you can't do this. You can do a certain part of the business, but the rest of the business, if I'm not doing this, then you can't do that. You know, if I'm, you know, if the baby comes and we're doing it, like, so those questions were like, even though we had a good business, it wasn't like stable enough that she could leave and I could take it on, you know? So in my head, I'm like, well, I need to, like, there's got to be something. So that's when the behind the scenes stress for me was like, well, what am I? I just started asking myself that question, like, what are you going to do? Like what is it that you actually want to do? And the hardest part about that is like, for me, boilermaking's the easy thing. You know what I mean? Like going back and being that, like I'm a good boilermaker, but then knowing that's not what I sort of want to do. It's like, well, you're good at that, but it's not really what you want to do.
Did you have like a pretty good environment around you though at that point because you were doing like the ice bath workshops and so you'd be doing a bit of practicing a bit of mindfulness stuff and like learning to deal with resilience or build resilience. Sorry. So that was like helping you through that period as well? Yeah,
it was.
To a degree.
We had, to a degree, but it was good, you know, like and that's sort of why it's funny that we fell into this zone because I got to literally like completely combine the two things that I'm most passionate about, like, you know, health and wellness and performance and boilermaking. I've literally molded them into like one perfect little nest egg. But like at the time, like when I was working with, you know, Keegan Smith and the Real Movement guys, like, you know, he was inviting me down. We were training like, you know, with all these big performance coaches and like Sonny Bill Williams and all this. So I was seeing like a bit of behind the scenes of like what, if you got into that world, what it could bring. And that sort of sold me on, okay, well, like you need to start training, you know, you need to start like really like taking yourself to another level if you want to, like, because the people, it wasn't like, oh, you're just a trainer. It's like, well, no, these guys, the coaches and all that are like the best, you know, and you're like, oh, well, fuck, well, I've really got to up my game. So we sort of, well, I was, you know, doing like, well, that was, you know, that was like a 2-month period where we started going really hard with that. And then COVID, like really that was when COVID, like Katie had a miscarriage and then we went away and then that was when COVID happened. And then, you know, from then that was when HGG took off. And And then we didn't have to worry so much anymore.
The end.
Well, this has been good.
Thanks for coming on. Awesome. Fucking hell.
But like, it was just a new kind of stress then. Like it was like, you know, people always say pick your hard.
Yep.
And it was like one of those things that it was like, it's been the hardest fucking, out of all the shit that we've done, this has been by far the hardest thing we've ever done. Put more stress on me and more anxiety and more everything than anything that I could imagine. But at the same time, then that like from there is when it was the first time ever that I'd actually known what I want to do.
Yep.
You know, that was like the light bulb that I was like, I can actually do, like, this is what I'm here for, you know. And I think for me,
cool feeling.
I've never known, like, and I think that's what a lot of people go through life with, is they're like, oh, I've got a passion, but then whether they're too, you know, dreams are hard to chase, you know, as you know.
You always got people, fucking obstacles, all.
And when you do start your own dream, you're like, well, this is my dream, but then it's like, well,
got to sell that motherfucker.
It's hard
too.
too. You know, dreams are hard to like go after. But yeah, like once we started HGG, it sort of worked out quite well, because then.
So what launched it, like, for you? Like, because obviously there's people starting businesses every day, but you know, you're not even 2 years old, really.
Well,
and we just fucking blew up.
Yeah, well, I'd actually, and this is the funny story with it all, because we'd started doing like the workshops and stuff like that out of home. I'd made my own rigs and stuff like that, like just a simple rig, and I thought, oh, I'll put some, like, fuck, this was easy. I was like, I'll put it on Marketplace and Gumtree and stuff like that, and I'll put like custom gym equipment, you know, put a cool photo on whatever. I'd love to go back. I'll see if I can find the photo and I'll send it to you. You'll fucking find it hilarious.
Keep that in my wallet.
And yeah, you can post it on your computer. But it never got a bite. It got one bite, and it was from a friend who, I don't know, out of pity maybe might have ordered something like, oh yeah, that looks okay. Yeah. Sweet, I'll get one, I suppose. But it never really took off. And then, and I was, again, at the same time, like, it wasn't until it took off that I thought to myself, oh fuck yeah, I could do this business. Like, this is something that I could do. But then again, it didn't take off. And I was like, oh, that's a bit deflating, because I thought, I bigged myself up. I was like, yeah, this is sick. This is the one. I'll do this. And same thing to Katie. I was like, Katie, I'm going to do this. Like, and like, props to her. Like, I've said that about a bunch of shit.
I've said that a lot too,
I've said that enough that, like, she's still with me. So, like, we've done it enough that it's like, Dale, this is the one, I'm fucking telling you.
She's like looking at the fucking box of other ideas in the corner that you come home with every day. Yeah.
Where are we going to store these? Yeah. There's no more space.
All right, look forward to hearing tomorrow's one. Run along now.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Do you need anything? I need $2,000. Oh, shit, man. But, like, so, yeah, we he didn't really take off, put everything, and then I actually tried, like, it was just taking up too much space, and like my welders, all my gear. So I tried to sell it all on Facebook Marketplace, and then literally couldn't sell a thing. Like, I would say $10,000 worth of equipment, and I thought, wow, if I can't fucking make it, I'll just sell it, and at least I'll get 10K. And then I couldn't sell anything. I sold one thing. It was my drill press, and it was the thing that I needed the most, like, outside of my welder when I started the business. But I was like, oh well, fuck. Now I've just got heaps of shit. Yeah. So then, yeah, like, then when COVID kicked off, all gym gear in Australia got sold out, like, overnight. And then while we were away, like, again, like I said, I didn't know that we had, like, a ad on Marketplace and Gumtree, and then it was literally overnight. We were just in the right place at the right time, I suppose, and people just started, like, there was literally, is this available? Is this available? Is this available? You know, can you make this? Can you make that? Like, Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree just lit up with inquiries, and by the time when we were away, by the time we'd gotten back to here on the Gold Coast, I started taking people's money before I'd even worked out how the fuck I was going to do it. And we'd had probably 50 inquiries for like gear. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then it was like, it just went like, people were like asking about squat racks and stuff like that. Like, can I get this? Yep. And they'd be like, how much? And I'd be like, fuck, I don't even know. I'd be like, 250, sold. Next one, 350, sold. I was like, 375, sold. And I was like, fuck, how good's this? This is print money, literally. And then like I started making it, and then it just like, and just out of nowhere, then I just had all these orders and all these orders for like squat racks or like a fucking dip bar or a weight tree or whatever. And then I just sort of made my little blueprint, and like, you know, my neighbours would have fucking hated me because I just had angle grinders going all day, bro. Oh my God. And then I just started making it out of the garage. And then like I would make the gear during the day in the garage. And then I borrowed, because again, at the time, we only had one car, and I had to borrow my neighbour's car. Like if it wasn't for my neighbour's a big reason that we are here, because like he lent me all his tools. I didn't have the right power tools that I needed for things like drills and all sorts of stuff. But like he lent me all of his fucking tools. Then like he lent me his ute. He had like this old Rodeo ute with like roof racks. And I remember after I would make everything during the day, I would put whoever couldn't pick it up from home, I would put it on these roof racks, and then I would just drive around the Gold Coast delivering it to people. I'd work all day, and it'd be like 6 p.m. when the sun was going down. I'd load everything up, and then I would just do deliveries around the Gold Coast, or I would drive to the Sunshine Coast to fucking install like gear for people. And that's like the shit. Like people think that, well, like you probably for the people looking in, like, you know, we've done well because like, you know, we'd developed a few products, but mate, at the start it was hardcore.
Mode, yeah.
It was hardcore. Like I was just like, I knew that we were onto something. I was like, fucking let's run with this. And again, like I said, like it was just me in a garage, and I'd make all the gear during the day, and then I'd go and deliver, and I would drive to Brisbane and take it off the racks and walk it into people's houses and install it in their fucking house.
Did you charge a like installation fee?
Not as much as I should have. Like I didn't know what to charge, so I'd charge someone $150 or something like that to drive to Brisbane and back and install it. And I'd
wouldn't even cover fuel at the moment.
Wouldn't have. Like some of the things, I remember driving up to the Sunshine Coast to install this rig, and I reckon install, rig, and everything, I probably charged them $1,000. I wouldn't like. I'd probably charge $1,000 to install something these days. You know what I mean? Like for what it was at the time. Like, but
it shows you don't need to have, like, so many people spend their time getting ready to get ready. They need to know everything before they pull the trigger. It's just like, fucking get moving.
Get moving. And that was, I guess, for us, like, like I said, at the time, when we'd start the business, like we were in a tricky financial position where I didn't really know what I was doing. Katie had just fallen pregnant again, I think. No, she hadn't yet. She fell pregnant a year after that. But but her business through COVID exploded.
Yep.
Because she was building websites and like marketing and stuff like that. And so everyone just went online.
Yep.
So like her business was flying, and then my business was going good too. But like, so she couldn't even help me. So like I was having to do everything myself, and she wasn't even helping. She's like, I would like to help you, but like,
can't. Sorry.
Business is good. Catch ya.
See ya. See you at the dinner table. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, see how much you can make today. I'll catch you later. But again, like I say, like we were both just went into like crazy hustle mode because like it was sort of like the world's just aligned at the right time for us, for her business to like be popping, and then for mine to go. But like she had already established hers, and then for me, I was like, well, fuck, like what do we? How do we do this? So then, you know, I just I just ran for it and just started making like all sorts of random shit, painting everything by hand, with spray cans and shit like that. But yeah, it was loose. It was loose.
So then moving on to the innovative products that really fucking like launched you. How'd that all come about for you? Like, was that something you'd set out to do? Was like innovate the fitness industry, or
what I wanted to do? Like, I
stopped doing installs and shit for that, like all that for that.
Yeah, that was to get staff to do that. That was going to be the handy thing, is to like get a couple of staff. But like I thought I'd go into like I'd done a couple of fit outs. Like I did one up in I did Timmy Glass's fit out when they moved into their space.
Yeah.
I did theirs, and that was the first like fit out that I'd ever done for a gym. And I thought, fuck yeah, this is good. Like so, but I got to a point where I was elevating my gear. Like I was sort of sitting at like a really cheap sort of level, because I was still painting everything. Like it was still good. Like everything was still like good gear. But then I wanted to make sure that I could elevate it so like the customers were getting like as good as they could get. Like they were powder coated and nice. But that come with like extra spending of money, which lessened margins and all that sort of stuff. And that then put me in like a little bit of a tricky spot where I wasn't actually making a lot of money. I sort of put myself back in that situation where I was like, well, I can't charge a lot because like no one's going to buy it for that. But also I need to find a happy medium in that like space. And so and then that then came with a lot of growing pains on like, well, how do I ship things this far? How do I make big things? So like, I was starting to think like, fuck, this is getting intense. Like I'm finding this like maybe too hard, and now I'm getting into the market with the big boys that maybe it is a hard like slog to actually
get
like
there.
Be there, And so like I'd had sort of a honeymoon period where it was just a free for all, and then like borders started opening up a little bit, and then it was like, oh well, things are getting a bit tougher again. But like I sort of knew that like I was like, you just got to keep working. Something will come. And then that knees over toes guy, I'd known him like before he was like super famous through Keegs, and he like a friend of mine who makes the slant boards, Nathan, he'd made slant boards for Ben, and he'd started integrating them into his programs, and they were pumping like Nathan's business. Because Knees Over Toes guy was growing so fast that he had all this attention on him, and then he was promoting like Nathan's products, and I was like, fuck, like I'd love to get something. Like I then started thinking maybe the small accessory market might be the go. And then, but then at the same time, I was like, fuck, like what
is a small,
like what's not there, that you can create. And that was the thing that I then got like borderline obsessed with, is like, what can I make to fit in his program that like isn't on there? And so the first thing I actually made was the Nordic bar, and I'd made that because like he used the big benches and stuff like that. And so I'd made a Nordic bar, and that was the first thing I'd got over to him. And for the first, like when I first sent it after I've made the prototype, I'd sent it to him, and it was like so basic, and it actually got stolen out the front of his house. Like for the first month I'd sent it, and it cost me like $230 to send the fucking thing. And I was like, and he never said anything back to me, and I was like, has he fucking brushed me? Like this is bullshit. Because he wasn't texting me or nothing. I was like, I understand, like, bro, have you got my gear? Like, what's doing? And then he goes, no, I haven't seen it. Like, and he was like, oh, like a bunch of gear got stolen the other day. And I was like, oh, fuck hell. So then I had to pay the money again to, and at the time, like $250 is a lot of money to send something the super express shipped. And anyway, he got it, loved it, promoted it a bit, and then it started like getting going a little bit. And then I basically threw a Hail Mary pass at him, and I said, look, what else do you wish that could exist that doesn't? And then he was like, if you can make something to train your tibs, it'll blow up. And I was like, what the fuck are tibs? You know, like I was like,
where is that?
Where are that? Where do we? Is that like next to the lat? Is that like a tib shoulder exercise? ITB, is that something? I don't know.
On your toes.
Yeah. I was like, okay, cool. And so I just done a bit of like, I was just looking at shit, like looking at how he was doing it against a wall and tying dumbbells to feet and stuff like that. And then I was like, all right. And I actually went into the warehouse and I like took my work boot off, and then I remember putting it down on a board, and I just traced around my work boot, and I was like, okay, where are and I sort of just like fucked around with it, and then I came up with this thing, and out of some scrap steel, I sort of made this bar, and like the original one's around here somewhere, it might be outside or whatever, but I just put this thing together and then like put a weight on it and then tacked a piece of steel on it, and then I used it, and I was like, just like you were downstairs, like, holy shit, I haven't felt a burn like this before. And it was like that light bulb that went, whoa, this could be it.
This feels good.
You know, this feels like something I haven't felt before. And that was like the feeling that I felt when I got Nathan's slant board, and I'd used that, and I was like, I can see why people love this, because it's like a new burn that like is good. And then once I'd made the tib bar, I like sort of designed it to the point where it could be shipped, and I sent one to him, and he was like, get ready, this thing's going to change the world. And I was like, we'll see.
Is that what he said to you?
Yeah.
How'd you?
I was like, well, at the time I didn't know. Like, I was like, yeah, we'll see. But like, he goes, when he got it, he used it, and he was like, he goes, get ready. Literally, he said, get ready. This is going to change the world. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. And we started making them. Like, I found a supplier who I still use today.
Yep.
And we'd designed a couple, like we'd made one to the point where we could sort of put it in a box and ship it and stuff like that. And stupidly, we decided to launch this fucking thing on the 5th of December in 2020. Basically holidays, every supplier's shut, like, you know, and we're about to launch a product that is probably, you know, one of the fastest growing products to ever, you know, take off in 2020 and 2021. And we'd made like 50. We put in an order and we were making them, and like, we didn't know what was going to happen. And then, isn't that movie Blow?
Yep.
So we launched it on the 5th of December, and Knees Over Toes guy reshared our post and done a post himself and said, like, every gym all over the world should have one of these. This thing, rara, and it just went fucking crazy. Like, they were going out the door. Like, I think in the first night, like, we, you know, at this time, like on the first night, we sold like 20, and we were like, holy shit, these things are going. And then by the time we woke up, there was like 30 or 40 gone or 50 gone, and I was like, that's like going back to like the Blow. You know how he's on the phone going, we need more. I was like saying that to my supplier. I was like, we need another 50. And he's like, yeah, okay, sweet. And then they were gone. And then I was like, make it 100. Turn that up to 100. And then like they were just like ting, 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 flying. And then, but then we were like, holy fuck, like, how are we going to make these and how are we going to paint the cunts? And so we were like, holy shit, like, what are we going to do? We're like, there's a heap of orders. And Katie's like, shut the website. And I was like, fuck that. Like, let's go.
Make them.
And I was just working there all day. And I was just like, I made the jig, and I was just like, psh, psh, and I was knocking them out. And then by that time, I'd had one guy on as a staff. And then I ended up just asking favors to mates. Like, there was actually I've got a photo there as well. Like, there was a lady down in Sydney who I'd made a set of monkey bars for. And I ended up, like, they were like the full length of my shed, and I ended up asking her if I could just keep them and not powder coat. I actually sort of made an excuse that the powder coaters were closing and I wouldn't have been able to get them. But I also said, like, because of that, do you mind if I just keep them here, you know, until, you know, they kick back up again? And she was like, yeah, no, that's all good. And we just used that as a hanging rack. And
so
we were like painting them, and we got some wire, and we were buying Bunnings out of spray paint, like the black matte spray paint. we would go in there of a morning, and we would buy the whole lot, and we would use every can, and we would go back there like 2 days later, to the point where they were like, "You can't keep taking this." Like, there was someone there one day when Raph was doing it. He went to take more. He goes, no, not this again. And then he was a normal patron. Like, he was a normal dude buying it. He goes, I need at least 4 cans of those. And Ralph's like, yeah, okay, cool. He goes, I keep coming here every day, and you keep buying every fucking can. And he's like, I'm here early now, and you're not buying them. And so,
here, take 4. I'm taking the rest.
There you go. Don't fucking ask any questions again. Don't leave it. You want a job? Come on, I've got a job for you. You want to use them?
You like paint? Yeah. Here you go.
But we just started we were just like. The good thing about like Steve, like our supplier, he was like, fuck yeah, like let's make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah.
And so he worked all the way through. Like I think we took Christmas Day off and Boxing Day, and that was the only days we took off. And me and Raph and like Katie was doing orders, and we were just like, mate, it was just printing money. It was just like people were coming from everywhere, all over the states, like everywhere. We were just having these orders come in from all over the place, and we were like, holy shit, what's happening? And then, like that, like, you know, through that whole first month, like we were like, whoa, this is starting to gain momentum. And then
still gaining momentum. Yeah.
That was like, just like in the first month. Then the second month we doubled in our sales. And then in the third month we got, that was the first time. In the third month after that, that was the first time Joe Rogan talked about us on his page, and we tripled in after that.
From that,
and then
so
it just went
3 months.
And we were, there was the first month it was me and Raph. The second month, and I'd like ask favors in from like mates who you know, coming back and forwards from mines and that. And then the second month, I hired a full-time welder to like start welding, like. And I had to do all the other shit. And then that was January. And then Katie fell pregnant halfway through January. And then she got mad morning sickness. So then she bailed.
She was out.
Yeah. And then she's like, well, I can't keep doing this anymore. And started like, because she was doing more. I think she's like, yeah, bye again. See you at dinner. And then, then like, you know, from there, like then by February, like in a double bay garage, like we still were doing other shit as well, but in a double bay garage, like it was split. Like this half was like a welding bay, like a grinding bay, and then out the front of it was like we'd had like bins set up with like timbers where we'd paint everything and like hang things, and then the other side was like, the funniest part about the neighbours, one of them was sweet because he used to ride, like him and his son, like they rode dirt bikes, so they'd just like tune dirt bikes up of a weekend, right. So they didn't give a fuck. And then the other neighbours who were real weird, never really seen them, but they were like real strange. Like, you know, you type of neighbours when they walk out of the house, you're like, whoa, I don't know what the fuck goes on in there. They're strange people. But he came out one day and I was like, oh, here we go. Because he said, and I was like, fuck, here we go. He's going to dob on me.
On me.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, he's had enough. It's only a matter of time. And I was like, oh, sorry about all the noise. And he was like, oh, mate, don't worry about the noise. He goes, I used to be a steel maker down in Victoria. I used to make knives and so I actually really enjoy it. It's like I really love the sound. I miss it. And I was like, what?
The fuck makes this sound?
Literally, grinders sparking up at like 8 a.m. And he was like, yeah, no, don't worry about that. We can't hear it that much. I was like, sweet, bro. And then so like we just had a dream. Like a little dream. And at that stage when he said that, I had four blokes working for me in the double bay garage. Like I had one that was packing orders and doing order stuff. Me, then a full-time boilermaker, and then a full-time, like I guess he was just a bit of everything, deliveries, all sorts of shit. And then I had another part-time dude who just came in and helped pack orders or pain or fucking whatever. And then in Feb, that was when Joe Rogan mentioned us, and then it just went absolutely
gangbusters. And
we were trying to find a space and we couldn't find a space. It got pushed out. Like we had so many orders coming in that it was a 2.5 month wait just to get one bar. And we tried to stop it on the website. We told people it was going to take. We just said it was pre-order, and the orders sped up. It went faster, and we were like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, I don't know if it was because like people were like, thought, "Oh, well,
FOMO.
we got to," it's a bit of FOMO sort of stuff. But yeah, the orders picked up, and I was like, "Okay, what do we do?"
Do that every couple of months.
I should do. I should go back to that actually. But yeah, it sort of went crazy like that, and then in February, like we couldn't get it. We ended up finding this warehouse in March.
The one we're in now.
Yeah, the one we're in now. Cool. And then that's when once we moved here, then we sort of built like everything you see here now. But yeah, for the first few months after like we'd done that, but I guess like to go back to, what you're saying, yeah, when we'd created the tib bars, we didn't really know like what we'd created or like what was actually going to happen. We were just sort of like, I just sort of made something, and like I said, just made something. Put it out there and see if it works, and then next minute it worked, and then next minute we were like, holy shit, like,
giddy up, fucking hold on here.
Yeah. But yeah, it was wild. It still is.
And what's come like for you moving forward? Obviously, don't have to give too much away, but what are you sort of excited about as a business owner? Obviously, a new dad as well. Like, what's the future looking like for you? Read the play as it comes, mate. Yeah, you did mention that earlier. But I was hoping
it's Wednesday, but hopefully do something on the weekend. But yeah, no, like I guess for us, like we're really excited for like what the future holds. Like it's a scary point because like throughout this whole journey, there is like just when you think things are going really good, like even in the periods like now when like after everything's like we've had rock bottoms through that period as well. Like, the business has gone soaring, but at the same time, you have like people don't realize when you've got a business like we've got that have built really quickly, there's like crazy growing pains that come with that. Like you got to build a whole ecosystem and like underneath it. And then when you've never done it, like if things can like, if you have a flatten out period or something like that, you've got 10 staff that are like paying their bills because of you.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest and hardest thing that for me is like as a business owner that like I have now is that I have people that like not only a family that relies on me, but now I've got all these people like these guys that work for me that rely on this business and me to actually let them have them live, you know what I mean, in a way. And so that like that pressure is a good thing. And like, it's a hard, like some days the pressure's too much and I find it
crawl under the desk.
Hard to like, when things are going hard, like it's hard because you sort of know like, well, fuck, like if I have a bad week this week, do I have a business next week?
Yep.
Like can I, things are going good, but what if they go bad? Do I, will I have to sack everyone,
Yep.
Like, will I even have anything? But at the moment, like at the moment we're in a good place with some good people and some good direction. Like we're really hoping that with some new products and stuff like that, like we've got some cool new products that we've been able to innovate and work with, like that we think that will continue to disrupt the market a little bit more. But I think for us now, it's less about the selling of products and more about what impact we're actually doing now. I think that's the coming back to the core of our business, and that's like the core of who I like to think that I am is like I want to see people like fuck. I would have loved to have been a professional athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I would have
100%.
loved to have been. I never even got a taste for anything. I was fucking useless like I was a good trier, 100%. I give 110%. Like if I was in the fucking whatever I was doing,
Kill it.
I was doing in probably second division, and I was at the top of the second division. But like I had a lot of good friends around me that were elite, at whatever their craft is. Like even you, as a personal trainer and just like an athlete yourself, you've hit heights that are, that you would find, you'd be really happy with.
Yep.
For me, I've always sort of seen that and gone, well, okay, like I'm not going to get that. But now with this business, it's more so like, okay, well, how can I actually like, play a part in that person's success. And that to me gives me the most satisfaction when I know that like OBJ, imagine if like Odell comes back and like, or I don't know if he's going to be using all that gear, but I know for a fact that Chris Weidman, when he broke his leg, when he was rehabbing, he got some of our gear. Like he's been using our tib bars and our ISO tibs ever since ever since we'd launched the tib bar. He's basically been using the tib bar since he fucking broke his leg in half. And then once we launched the ISO tib, we sent it to him and he takes it and that for me is such a far out thing for me to think.
Yeah.
Like UFC, like we've got 4 different UFC champions using our gear now, that have been or like have been the best, like George St. Pierre, Israel Adesanya has bought gear, TJ Dillashaw, like we've had some crazy people like just in like certain things that have like...
Got your Wall of Fame out there, right?
Oh, the Wall of Fame. I love the Wall of Fame.
You did the Maroons on the weekend as well, or Monday?
Yeah, Monday. And that was like, again, like for like when we talk about like what do we see, I guess, like fuck, going to the Maroons camp is like, as a kid from Toowoomba who played seconds for St Mary's College Toowoomba, like the Maroons were like the Maroons are the Maroons, as a country kid, that's just like, you live for State of Origin. Like, oh, well, I did anyway. I love State of Origin. I still just like am such a diehard Queensland fan. And then to get a call up and say that they want our gear and they're like, yeah, you're in. Coach is out, you're in. Yes, sweet. Okay, cool. I'll just go and buy some boots. But like to get a call up, like I have fucking pinch me moments like every week, they come more and more now. But like going out to the Maroons camp and just being like knowing something that I'd created is like, I'm showcasing that to
the elite.
Just to that thing that is like, holy shit, like I can't even believe that this is, because it's all sort of blurred. A lot of like what this business has done, like there's highlights and stuff like that.
Yep.
But it's quite blurred into like so much cool and hard and everything that happens that, like with Benny and, like we were talking downstairs and I'm trying my hardest to make sure that like I really love when the good shit's happening to try to like, and I think that's the best thing about having a family has taught me to like be present so much. Whereas like for a lot of the first part of the business and for a long time, living like, playing, eyes up sort of stuff, like playing what's in front of you, you sometimes don't sit in that present moment. Like I was always like, I'm looking for the next thing. I'm looking for the next thing. I'm looking for the next thing. So like when you have the good things come through, sometimes like I was just letting them sick. Yeah. Oh, Rogan. Cool. Okay. Well, how can I then
rather than actually
go further than that, like, oh, well, now let's look to the next thing. Let's look to the next thing, and
that's how you ended up on this podcast after Rogan.
Wouldn't have got there. I wouldn't have been 400. But you know what I mean? Like you made me, like, I just look at things more present now, and fuck, being out in that Maroons camp, like I was like, people were like, oh, how was it? I'm like, I felt like I was like a kid, like that. Just I couldn't contain myself. I was like starstruck, but trying to act so cool. I was like, going on, boys? How you going? Inside, I'm like, woo! But I was like, holy shit. Daily Jerry and the Evans is using my gear. Oh my God, what the fuck, man? I'm sitting here talking to Cameron Munster. I was like Benny, like he I didn't even know if he was even that excited. Like, he was like, oh, this would be mad. And I was like, you fucking kidding me, bro? Spark up, bro. I'll sack you.
Yeah.
Like,
you won't have a job tomorrow.
Do you realise where we're fucking going? And he's like, yeah, man. Maroons. I was like, fuck you. It's like, you're supposed to be my guy.
You're my wingman.
Yeah. But yeah, like, it was cool, man. Like, it was fucking insane. But yeah.
Mate, I'm excited to see where it continues to go. Where can people, if people want to get these ISO tib bars, but also just follow the journey, and because you're sharing some cool stuff downstairs, which you're working towards with the company and everything like that, where can they follow along and buy some stuff?
Instagram is HGG Performance. The website is hggperformance.com. We've got a YouTube channel, HGG Performance. If you just type HGG Performance in Google, you'll probably find everything you need.
Yeah.
But yeah, like our social media is like one that we, put a lot of funny shit on, or do random shit that we put up there. Hopefully people find it funny. They seem to so far. But yeah, social media is, we put heaps of stuff, but yeah, go to our website. We ship worldwide, and yeah, you'll definitely, if you've got knee pain, ankle problems, we basically build, lower body bulletproofing equipment. So, if that's you, which it is.
It's everyone.
Yeah.
I tested it before and I feel fucking good.
Yeah. It's good. And that's I think one of the funny parts about, and it's one of those things that still to this day makes me laugh, is you always see these people that do like unboxing of makeup and shit like that. Somehow the fucking tib bars started doing, everyone on social media started doing it. It was like makeup. Everyone's like unboxing their tib bars and stuff like that. Me and Katie used to laugh. We're like, as if people are like doing like unboxing, it became like, that was the thing that the social media just blew up. Like everyone started unboxing their tib bars, and we had photos in like when it was Christmas time of people having tib bars underneath the Christmas tree and shit like that. Me and Katie would look at each other and be like, what? Someone ordered a tib bar for Christmas? Like, what the fuck, man? But again, like I say, like social media just became like social media just turned into an absolute beast. But you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that when people started using it, it was like you said downstairs, like it's a burn that you'd never felt before. And I think we're just kind of scratching the surface of like what I think that it could be, So fingers crossed that, it is what we think it is.
Fuck yeah. Mate, congrats on all the success. It's been awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Nah, I'm happy to be 400. I might even get a tattoo there or something.
You should. I think you should, mate. I'll pay for it.
Sweet.
Sponsored by the Man That Can
Yeah,
Project.
the Man That Can. Yeah, cool.
Thanks, bro.
Nah.
If you got value from that episode, be sure to leave a review, slap it on your Instagram or all these social media platforms, and tag myself at Lachlan Stuart and Searsy, HGG Performance, and do something today to be better for tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachie Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.